everyone, and welcome to the Open Mic Gripe with myself, Jay Rice, and my co-host, Jeffrey Ide, the place where serious and silly complaints come to chat. Open Mic Gripe is a weekly podcast dedicated to hearing your gripes, grievances, and opinions on any and all topics.
Every episode, Jay and I will have the opportunity to get to the bottom of the issues which are lingering on the back of your mind and engage in order to create constructive conversation using a combination of lighthearted comedy and well-formed logic.
If you feel like we are wrong, inappropriate, or biased, then call in, email, or tweet and let your voice be heard. You can email us at openmicgripe@gmail.com or tweet to us at openmicgripe, both of those open mic gripes being one word. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search for Open Mic Gripe.
So jump on in and gripe on the open mic with Jay Rice and Jeffrey Ide.
Hello, Jeffrey. How are you this week?
I'm doing exceptionally well. This is beautiful summer here in Fargo, North Dakota.
That's real good.
And it's
nice stuff.
Hot as crazy on here. It's a little bit humid. How do you like weather talk, Jay?
It's so fascinating.
Really? Are you
so good?
You're not a weather?
It's making me moist. As in, like, it's warm outside.
But that's what we talk about here to break the ice, the weather, right?
Did you realize that there's no, like, people hate the word moist, but that there's no, alternate, like you can't say, this was such a great damp cake.
Right.
I'm just saying, moist is necessary. Some people say get rid of the word.
Well, then I'm thinking about vagina cake.
Why? That's odd.
You know why people don't like the word moist? Because it's used in every single tampon commercial.
I don't think I've heard a single tampon commercial that uses the word moist.
How many tampon commercials do you actually pay attention to?
Many of them.
Like, at least a third of them.
Playtex, Tampax.
Are you listening to the words? Most guys tune that shit out.
No, see, I'm not one of those dudes. I don't care. Hearing about periods doesn't bother me.
I would say, though, it doesn't bother me hearing about menstrual cycles. It does bother me when guys talk about it.
Hold on. You know what? I feel like we should bring up a tampon commercial, and because I bet you not a single one of them.
Well, now they recognize. Don't pick up a new one. Okay. Get one of the older ones.
This conversation is already on tampon commercials. And I'm still over here plotting my campaign to get the entire world to replace moist with damp. I want people, like, it is now that's on my bucket list now. I want to get people to start, like, I want some company somewhere to make a cake mix that they sell in stores that sells their cake as damp cake. The most damp cake on the market.
It was a moist spring morning.
That has to happen now. Damp cake.
Jay, you better take a second and
introduce
our guest.
Jay, that might be the name of my next comedy album now. Damp cake is that's fantastic. Can I curse on this?
Yes, you can. Yes, it's not a problem.
We never made that clear, but yeah, that's fucking fantastic. And it's that level of fantastic that requires it to be modified by fucking. We need the world needs damp cake.
Okay. But if you say damp fucking cake, now that makes it sound like a cake. I definitely don't want seconds.
Fucking cake.
I don't want seconds on damp fucking cake.
No, it's
I want to welcome JD to the show.
Hey guys,
if we didn't get a chance to introduce him,
I was still looking for any tampon commercial that would likely use.
That was ultimately why I spoke up, was because I was trying to run interference to get Jay away from the tampon commercials.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Keep him away from this damn tampon commercial if we can.
Well, don't make crazy claims, man.
What are you talking about? Tell me, why don't people like the word moist, huh?
No, I'm telling you that I don't think there's a single commercial that uses the word moist.
I've never. I will say that I'm on Jay's side on this one. I cannot think of a single tampon commercial.
Do you think the tampon commercial coming in? Do you feel moist between your legs when it's that time of your month? No, I don't think they're saying that.
Are you kidding me? Like, look at this. I just Googled, although this is going to suck because now Google's going to give me advertisements for the rest of my life based off of the search moist tampon commercial.
Did you find one?
Yeah.
Just got to get into your account settings
Yeah, I
and change
found
your
it.
advertising ID.
Vaginal moisture balanced tampon. This is what
But I don't think they're saying it in their commercial.
I think what we're learning right now is that he knows entirely too much about tampon commercials.
So he is paying attention to every
I
single word.
I alphabetize and organize them by year. I record them and have
You
a
record
wide collection of tampon commercials over the years. That's clearly my level of dedication here.
That's troubling. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe we know more about you now than we ever really needed to know.
You're definitely not allowed in here on your by
yourself ever again.
You definitely need a chaperone every time you're
Are
here.
you okay, Jay? Jay's having a
I'm
stroke.
going into a stroke. It's too much moisture in my brain.
Yeah, it's like you have to sit on a towel forever.
Moist towel.
You have to sit on a towel just.
Okay, let's face it. Everything with the word moist has to do with the parts of your body you can't expose in public.
You've never had a moist forehead?
I think.
Well, your
I've
forehead
never
probably should
had
stay
a
out of
moist
public.
forehead.
I think it's more primal than that. I think it's just because of the word moist. Just it feels gross when you say it.
So you're gonna go back in
moist.
time.
I feel it's probably because there's been too many people that have said, "Are you moist?" That's probably why.
What a terrible
No,
word.
are you going to go back in time to prehistoric
moist?
humans and just say moist and watch them revel with
Well,
fear?
I'm gonna watch them. I don't know that they'll be reveling in fear. They'll cringe. They won't like that word, moist. Just say it, say it and see
Moist.
how it feels in your mouth. It's a terrible word.
moist.
What's that called? There's a French expression.
It
I
just
think
feels
it's
awful in your mouth. Moist.
called like
Ugh.
jamais vu when you say something so
Ugh.
often that it starts to sound strange.
It's just it's terrible.
I don't know.
I hate
Anyway.
saying that word.
Moist.
Yeah.
Moist?
Moist.
We found his kryptonite.
Damp. Give me.
you
Damp.
Give me that damp cake.
Damp is a
Would you
word
introduce your
I'm
damn
okay
guest?
with.
You already introduced them. I like that my contacts, they're actually AccuView Moist. That's actually what they're called. AccuView Damp.
AccuView Damp. I would put those in my eyes. I would put AccuView Damp on my corneas.
Yes, of course, we got local comedy star JD
Jesus.
Proverse.
I don't know. Let's maybe retract that star part. Local comedian is. I don't know. I
Well,
guess.
aren't you coming out with your second CD?
No, it's my first. I guess I don't even really know what to call it because it's not actually it's going to be a digital. It's a digital only release and it's actually already available. It just came out last week. But it's this past spring back in March. I was at Courtney's Comedy Club. And we recorded 5 shows that weekend, and what I've got available now on my Bandcamp page, which is real simple, by the way, it's jdprovorse.bandcamp.com, is what I felt was the best of those 5 shows for the weekend. And so it's just it's not even like a full hour sort of thing like most people will do. It's just about 28 minutes or so. But it's my first official sort of I don't know. There's no real word for it in comedy because it's not something that most people ever do with only like a 28-minute record. But I guess it's an EP is what music would call it.
28 minutes?
Yeah, 28 minutes. Standard comedy show, if you're not familiar, to break this down really quick, there's a 3-man show. You have your MC and your feature comedian and your headliner. And the MC usually does about 10-15 minutes or so. Your feature will do anywhere from 20 to 30, and then your headliner is the main focus with anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And that's what I was doing that weekend, was that middle spot, the feature spot on those shows. And the original plan was we were going to try and edit the shows together from the weekend to get a full 45 to 50 minute recording out of the thing. But that didn't really quite work out how we wanted it to. But the one show, I mean, was really, really, really great. I was particularly proud of it. So I just decided, especially since it wasn't going to be put out on physical media of any kind, it was going to be digital only. It's more just sort of like, just a first sort of, an introduction recording.
Introduction to JD.
Right.
And
yeah.
your jokes.
Yeah. It's just like here's a little bit of an yeah exactly. Just that's a perfect. Now I wish that's what I had called the record. I wish I had named the record Just the Tip. Where were you 3 weeks ago when I was picking out
got
names?
all kinds of
Alphabetizing my
tip.
tampon commercial collection.
Here's what you know what? Fuck it. It's digital only. I'm just going to go onto my Bandcamp and change the name to Just the Tip. That's fantastic.
You heard it here first on Open Mic Gripe. Yep.
I'm actually going to do that because the title that I picked was kind of a swipe at me because I do say I'm just saying, you guys. It's sort of a
so it was called I'm Just Saying, you guys.
Yeah, it's called I'm Just Saying, you guys. But I'm going there and I'm changing the name to Just the Tip. That's fantastic. I'll even give you credit. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, as of right now, the name of my album and my recording is JD Proverse, Just the Tip.
Go ahead and give Open Mic Gripe credit. We need some more publicity.
Absolutely, that's fantastic.
All right, so this is not my hypothetical question because we are getting to that. But I do have a question for you guys before we do this. Just in terms of your skills as comedians.
Okay.
Post-apocalyptic world, I don't care, nuclear, zombie.
Uh-huh.
What role do you guys have to play?
Well, I don't think my role
Morale.
has anything to do with being a comedian. It has everything to do with being a fat person, which is I'm going to be the one who gets munched on for several days while the rest of you get away. You're welcome. Everybody's going to want
like a time.
Everybody, I'm just saying, you guys, everybody's all psyched up on this zombie apocalypse idea. Everybody's going to want a fat friend in the zombie apocalypse because we're the ones who are going to take it for the team. You're preemptively welcome.
It's not much of a team after we eat you.
Well, you're not going to... No, that's the whole point, is the zombies eat me so you
and
can get away.
Jeffrey, you don't have to run faster than everybody. You just have to run
You just have
faster
to not...
than
Right.
JD.
You just have to not be the slowest gazelle in the pack. Right?
I'm okay with just locking ourselves up
And
in some
also-
facility. And
He
having a
just
slow...
wanted to lock up
Right.
and just eat you, by the way. That's where his brain went.
But again, double whammy, because not only am I the one who's going to get caught and eaten, I'm also very large, so they're going to be able to eat me for a long time. So again, you're welcome.
That's very considerate. Jay, do you have a talent that'll allow you to be useful in the post-apocalypse?
Well, I'm sure you don't actually know this, but I am actually a really good shot with guns.
That
The farm boy in him.
Here are the thoughts that happened immediately in this exact order. You're right. I didn't know that. Frankly, that doesn't really surprise me. Holy shit, that's terrifying. That was exactly how my thoughts broke down when you said that. No, again, that's because fuck Jay. Let's get back to talking about me.
Oh yeah.
Now, in the zombie apocalypse, I'll be fine. If it's like an atomic bomb apocalypse, I don't know. Like, the zombie apocalypse is what I'm hoping for because it's the only apocalypse where I have any utility whatsoever. And my only utility is to be a sacrifice. Right, is to be slowly eaten so the rest of you have time to get away. That's how I'm hoping it goes down. So if the military or somebody could get on, making that Trioxin 7 stuff or whatever it was from Return of the Living Dead. Because it's obviously not going to be, if there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. That's not how it's going to happen.
You don't like that
so
one,
if some kind of... If we could get into some sort of chemical process or something that will make corpses come back to life and feast on human flesh.
Well, see, that's why I did
appreciate
appreciate.
it.
I did appreciate the 28 Days Later that it's just rage.
Right, it's
You know?
like some weird disease where people. The problem with
like
that,
that
though,
one.
is they run. It's weird. I mean,
But JD, if you were a zombie and coming at me, I'd be terrified. I'd be fucking terrified.
I would be.
You'd be like zombie
worst.
juggernaut.
I would be the worst zombie because again, at my size, even consumed with rage, this doesn't move fast at all. I wouldn't be the scariest zombie. I would be the fucking funniest zombie. You would because I would be consumed with the 28 days because I guess they're not even zombies. Technicalities, fuck it. But even if I was consumed with that, I would just be I would be the zombie that's just bent over, huffing and puffing.
Like the one zombie who actually does need oxygen.
It's just out of habit, It's you can't see it because it's podcast, but oh god, I would be a shitty zombie. I would be a terrible, terrible zombie.
Maybe if those are the noises that you make when you run, maybe zombies wouldn't even get you because they'd just be like, "Oh, he's already one of us." If you're just like,
when I run, it sounds like tortoises fucking. Have you heard? And I don't know if you've heard tortoises fucking. That's what it sounds like when tortoises. That's a video you should pull up on YouTube and play for these people. If you haven't, go to YouTube, everybody, and you search for tortoise mating, and you watch these giant Galapagos tortoises fuck, and
think of JD running.
Listen to the sound they make, and that's the sound I make within just a few seconds of trying to move at more than a normal walk pace. It's embarrassing, but it's the truth, and we're all about honesty and the truth.
We could, when we go to shut down, we'll just get a sound bite of JD trying to get out of the chair. We'll use that as a transition noise.
Oh, fuck it, I'm just gonna stay here.
So, right. Jeffrey, do you have a... So sometimes, JD, we do a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Because because Jeffrey's got a lot of
So does that mean it's
thoughts.
it's not actually a question, it just could possibly be a question?
Could possibly be a question at some point in the future.
Question.
So,
Okay, so this hypothetical question today is pretty straightforward.
Better not fucking deal with music.
It's not going to do with music. God, you're such a...
Why should it not deal with music? Is that like a thing?
Because I don't listen to music. So
I'm not a big music guy. I don't really talk about bands or music at all, which is why I kind of started fading out when you were talking about music before.
Okay. Frankly, maybe the first time I've ever heard somebody say, I'm not really a big music guy.
No, well, first of all, music kind of annoys me because it takes alcohol or other substances to get me to understand music, and
that's a bummer.
That's my shortcoming. I've never really
don't get me wrong, I still go out of my way to enjoy music under the influence of alcohol or other substances, but I don't require alcohol or other substances to enjoy music.
So I know that I'm not into music,
right?
But I can at least answer some basic damn questions about music. And Jay, the word music comes up and he just turns off.
Okay.
So I asked him the question in the other podcast, what musician throughout history would you have narrate your life? And he just said, that's a stupid question.
It's a stupid question when you know your co-host doesn't listen to music.
But you've heard of people
again,
named
do we
Mozart.
have to rehash this again? Of course I know of bands, but if I don't listen to bands, how could I choose a band to dictate my entire life?
Anyway.
Now, once again, nobody's more surprised than me that I'm saying this, but I have to agree with Jay. It's like if you know he doesn't like cheese, but you're like, you have to have cheese.
I would not be doing a podcast with somebody who didn't like cheese. I don't care if he's even lactose intolerant. I would not do a podcast with him.
What cheese would really encompass who you are?
What cheese defines you as a person? person who hates cheese.
Gouda. All right, so my hypothetical question today.
Okay.
If you met a mystic man genie / thing,
Is this a sexist question? Why does it have to be a man? You think women can't grant wishes?
men are more interested in conning you, or I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. Tried to pull that one out of my ass. That didn't work at all.
No.
Just gonna be over here silence on that one.
So the hypothetical question is: a mystic genie gives you the option to see where you will be in 20 years. Mm-hmm. But if you say yes to experience where and what and who you'll be in 20 years, nothing you do until then will change that outcome.
This is an incredibly fucking specific genie. Holy shit.
He's a genie, don't question him. So the question is, would you agree to see where you'll be in 20 years?
Okay, let me make sure I understand what's happening. So basically is, if I see where I am, then nothing I do between now and then will be different than what I see.
No, you don't know how you'll get there.
Okay.
But what you see will absolutely happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't know what, I mean...
Okay, so if you see it, what you see will absolutely happen.
Yeah, I'd do it.
You'd look?
Yeah, I'd look. Why not?
Okay.
Because
well, if my understanding of the way things work is even remotely correct, what's going to happen is going to happen whether you know it or not. Like, that's like... So, like, why not? I mean, why wouldn't you look? Because, I mean, whether you know how it's going to turn out or you don't, it's going to turn out that way.
I know. So you'd say yes?
Yeah, why not?
yeah.
I'd have to say no.
Why is that?
I think the existential dilemmas would drive me just crazy. Knowing that I could...
No, man, because think about it. Here's either way, it's there's a liberation effect because if you know shit's gonna turn out real great, then you can just fuck off and do whatever. Yeah. Because shit's gonna turn out great.
Mm-hmm. Even if you see that it's gonna go bad.
Yeah. If you also if you know that shit's gonna be shitty anyway, then fuck it. Give me some junk and fucking shoot heroin up. Go just fuck anything and everything. Fucking just do whatever you want. Because
I probably like if I knew that in 20 years from now I'm not dead, I'd probably start taking a hell of a lot more risks.
Exactly.
I'd take risks.
You know what I would do? And it's like how much am I seeing? Because like if I guess it would be 20 years.
You get to experience your state of mental being. You get to
I can even like have a moment in my head and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can. All right. Well then I'd do something crazy that would make me a shitload of money. I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna jump out of this plane as a publicity stunt if I get this much dollars.
Without a parachute.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't even do that because here's where your hypothetical question breaks down, buddy. Is because if the genie says, I'll show you where you're going to be in 20 years, but no matter what you see, it has to be like that, I'm going to say yes because as long as I see any kind of a life whatsoever, I'm just going to start doing whatever the fuck I want. I'm gonna load shotguns and shoot my own body in places. I'm gonna hang myself. I'm gonna because clearly I'm somehow going to survive all this insanity and still be alive.
Russian roulette all the time.
I'm glad to know JD would use his powers for good.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to be a superhero. I'm just going to go out and just walk into streams of bullets and beat up bad guys and just because why not? Fucking, I'd just be. Can you imagine you would have you'd be everything. You just do whatever the fuck you wanted.
All of that still involves things that you're capable of doing today.
No, not without dying.
Except for the walking in front of bullets thing. But I mean, you could, plausibly
go out and fight crime, JD.
Yeah, and I could die. That's that's the reason everybody doesn't go out and fight crime, right?
No.
Like, isn't that the reason everybody doesn't go out and fight crime? Because fucking
Well, some people are criminals.
Crime
Some
so-
people are police officers.
crime fights back. Is that that's the reason I don't fight crime? Is because
No, it's not because crime fights back. It means that you have to be vigilant and always aware of things looking
No,
around.
it means that you might die or get hit, and I don't like pain or
How
death.
often does crime
or-
include killing people?
Okay, it maybe not dying, but you might get punched in the face, and that's no fun either. So fuck that.
You would help people, but fuck that. Getting
I
punched in
will
the face
help
is not
people
worth
as
it.
long as it doesn't involve my body being in pain, because that doesn't sound fun at all.
Well, you realize that just because you're not going to die doesn't mean you're immune to pain.
Right, but it means I'll survive it.
But you're okay with pain then.
Only if like, I can't die. Like there's a death there's a death element involved here. I can't explain it, goddammit. I'm just saying.
Okay.
There's a level of risk involved.
I'd have to say no, because there would be. I mean, I'd like to think. No, I'm not a proponent of free will.
And the only reason,
But-
again, that I brought that up is because that's where your hypothetical question completely breaks down.
It doesn't break down at all.
Because if I'm guaranteed to be alive in 20 years, then I could theoretically kill myself 87 times.
Yeah, but the question is,
and
do you want to
somehow
be the guy?
mystically still be alive?
Do you want to be the guy who, when they find your corpse, they're going to say, "Well, we all saw that coming," or do you want to be the guy who?
No, because obviously
that-
whoever found my corpse is like, we can bring him back.
We can rebuild it.
We can bring him
We have
back
the
and better.
technology. This is a $6 million
Because I
man.
already know 20 years from now I'm going to be alive.
Right.
Maybe that's what happened to Steve Irwin.
What?
Yeah, he talked to a mystical genie. He told him he can do anything he wants, and he just started like getting really close to animals, dangerous ones.
And so he saw that the stingray, the mighty stingray, was going to bring him down.
But his
and he's like,
confidence-
I'll take that risk. And then that day came that they're like, today you're going to be swimming with stingrays. And he's like, what? No!
wait, guys,
and
I'm
they're
not-
like, you got to do it, Steve. They're stingrays. What's going to
You've
happen?
handled alligators and crocodiles. Come on, it's a
It'll
freaking
be
stingray. Take it.
fine.
He got a little bit overconfident and forgot what the Mystic Genie told him.
I think he just knew he had to take it.
Yeah, it's
One
like,
to the
it's
chest.
gonna happen. Whatever.
Well, that man took it for the collective team of humans. Because he is a hero, Steve Irwin.
Is he really?
Yeah. More of a hero than a lot of people would call heroes.
How so? Because he got killed by a stingray?
Because he put himself in these dangerous situations so that we have more respect for nature. And he showed people.
Like David Blaine.
I don't know.
David Blaine is
He
hero.
put himself in
Do
a
we,
box out in the hot sun, man.
Do we have respect for
didn't-
that?
It was probably pretty cool in there.
Do we have respect for that dude from that movie Grizzly Man?
What, Grizzly
He
Man?
got eaten by the grizzly bear
Oh,
because
'cause he
he
was
thought
living
he
with
could
grizzlies
go
his whole
live
life?
with grizzly bears. He
I
was
know.
just trying to show us a thing or two about nature. He got eaten by a goddamn grizzly bear.
Did everyone
You know
get
why?
a chance to make this
grizzly
Mystic
bears
Genie?
will eat you. That's
But
why.
he lasted like 20 years.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Again, he probably talked to that genie and
Yeah.
it was just like, hey, you can
But-
do 20 years with
but
it,
do
and
we
that's
respect
it.
him? Do we respect him, guys?
Yeah, the Mystic Genie showed him
I
getting
respect that he got 20 years out of it.
The Mystic
I
Genie
don't.
showed him being eaten by bears, and he knew he couldn't avoid it, so he just went and lived with bears.
That seems ridiculous to me. Why would you do that?
Because he couldn't avoid his fate, so he might as well embrace it. Saying more for your avoidance of getting punched in the face and saving people from getting robbed or something.
Fair enough. I don't even know where this conversation
I was
is
going to
gone
say, so should we
at this
move
point,
this?
so
Seems very
I'm just
odd. We
gonna-
really needed to like
I'm just
overspeak
gonna
about
agree and move on.
Okay.
It's a hell of a question.
That was my hypothetical question. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So, JD, do you have any gripes you'd like to share with us?
yeah,
today?
I got a fucking gripe with that hypothetical question. What the fuck was that?
At least it didn't have anything to do with music.
You should have just said Mozart. Anyway.
That's not a
Yeah, I got a gripe with the new fucking Fantastic Four movie. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Yeah, it's
You have?
garbage. It's fucking. Oh, it's terrible.
So, but were you one of those people that was like, Johnny Storm? Was that his name?
Yeah.
Okay, Johnny Storm can't be black because that goes against the original comic.
I don't give a shit because it's not based on the original comic. It's based on, I believe, the Ultimate Fantastic Four comic series, and Johnny Storm is black in the Ultimate Fantastic Four comic series. So, shut the fuck up. It's just dumb. It's, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's 2015. Are we really still talking about race like it's a concept that means anything?
Well, some people seem to get it. I feel
It's,
like anybody that had that argument was just basically hiding behind. They're using that to cover up their racism on it because
black
who gives
man!
a shit?
Oh, yeah, a black guy. So fucking what, man? It's who cares? But no, it's just it's a god awful movie. It's a first act drawn out into an entire movie, and it's just boring as fuck. Oh, like nothing
So you're not
happened.
looking forward to
get you to be specific and to get both you guys to stop talking about fucking superhero movies. What in a movie, in that case, since you're talking about this movie, what about it convinces you that it's a bad movie?
Nothing happens.
So no plot.
The plot is it's so slow and dull and just
I like those movies.
It was I like movies that are slowly paced too. I don't like movies that are slowly paced that are supposed
With
to
no
be
payoff?
lots of like that was not a movie that was supposed to be slowly paced. That movie
Very
was
true.
garbage. This is garbage. This is a world where like Joss Whedon's Avengers and James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy are movies that exist. And you fucking just phone it in with that pile of trash? Are you kidding me?
You're just being spoiled now.
That movie? No, I'm not being spoiled. The bar has been set, man. Fucking step your game up.
Go on,
They've nailed down what action movies
now
to be.
he's gonna say go make a movie like that. I don't have to be a 5-star chef to know my meal tastes like shit, man. I'm not saying I can do it. But that's why I don't do it, because I don't think I could do it. But the bar has been set, and that movie did not. And I'm not even saying every movie has to be. I thought Ant-Man was all right. It's a smaller movie and moves at a slower pace and isn't like a huge, epic movie like those. And I thought that movie was really decent. This movie was just fucking boring. Everything took way too long to happen, and not enough shit blew up real good, which is a fucking. It's like, look.
So okay, just for my understanding,
that's an element of that type of movie that is necessary.
Have you seen Sense8 on Netflix?
I watched like the first 2 episodes and gave up.
Now that one where you have to get an understanding because it's like 8 people sharing that they can share each other or whatever. Now you have to get an understanding of those people, so of course that's going to go slow. And it's really got to get into the character development, otherwise you're not going to get into it in the later episodes.
Oh, right, and we also have to get to the scene where the girl is fucking the other girl with the strap on, so people are like, holy shit, did you watch that show? This girl fucks a girl with a strap on. Gotta
Jesus.
Get to that
did happen.
Yeah,
that did happen.
1.
It took me a while to remember that one.
Fucking, I don't know. I didn't like that show. I gave up.
See, I like character building and everything. So
that was your gripe.
That was a gripe.
Do you have more?
Probably. I don't know. There's a lot of shit that I could do without. I don't know. Man, the world is strange. You guys got anything that's upsetting you? You could probably name a gripe of yours, and it's probably a gripe of mine.
Okay.
Know.
Hey, Jay, you haven't introduced a gripe in quite a while.
Well, don't put me on the spot.
Yeah.
That's my fucking gripe. If I'm going to have a gripe, I need to think about it.
I would like to point out that Jay is over here like, don't put me on the spot. Meanwhile, let me tell you a story. I'm here on this podcast that Jay invited me to come do, 2 weeks ago, he invited me to do the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't until I sat down in this chair like a half hour ago or whatever.
I gave you a piece of paper and a pen.
Yeah, and it's at that point that he says, "Oh yeah, what we're going to talk about today is stuff that's bothering you." So don't put me on the
Facebook,
spot,
man. You
don't put me on. Yeah, but
I got a gripe.
You got a gripe? Let's talk about.
It's Is it too much to ask
Yes.
in 2015 to have self-driving cars?
We have them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No,
It's
no.
too much to ask.
I can't go buy one right now.
No, you can't, and that's your self-driving cars. Really?
I was promised by 80s sci-fi films. I was promised so much. The future has not lived up to it right now.
Well, they do have a hoverboard.
They do not have a hoverboard. It's
The
a hoverboard.
government. The government can't balance its goddamn checkbook, and your problem is we don't have cars that drive themselves. California is
We
literally
do.
running out of water, and your problem is that we don't. Yeah, here's my gripe. That fucking gripe is my gripe of the moment. Are you shitting me? Now, don't get me wrong. It would be pretty fucking sweet if we had cars that drove themselves.
We do. They're just not mass
That
produced.
would be pretty alright.
We do have.
And frankly, it would probably be way safer because most drivers terrify me.
All the accidents actually with the self-driving cars are them
all
hitting
the
the
things
cars.
we don't have,
People hitting
I
the
think
cars.
cars that drive themselves is kind of low on the priority list.
Well, okay. By that reasoning, what would be your reaction if I said my gripe was that the government was unable to balance its budget?
I would say that's a pretty reasonable gripe, and that would be the end of that conversation. Because that's a pretty fucking reasonable gripe. It's like, are you kidding me? If I don't balance my checkbook, they take away my ability to have a checkbook eventually. So it's
You
like,
can't exactly do that to governments.
well, why can't you?
Because it turns out we kind of need them to ensure that we don't get robbed or assaulted on the way to work.
Yeah, well,
right. We wouldn't want them to allow us to get robbed while they're robbing us.
But yeah, well, and also maybe
They're robbing us.
They're robbing me blind,
They're
man.
robbing you blind. Are you
All
making
them
those-
taxes.
maybe if we've developed a culture in society where we're dependent on entities to provide that level of assurance in our existence, we've been putting our efforts in the wrong places for a few years.
Sorry, you know what I'm ready for? I am ready for the aliens to come down and just fucking take over the planet and fucking I'm a pet.
You ready?
I'm
to
ready
give
for
up all
that.
responsibility?
Do you know how? Okay, put it this way: if I had the choice, if I could be like a cat pet versus a dog pet, I'm fucking all in. Let that happen. I don't come down, take over my life. Just give me a little bed to sleep on and feed me a few times a day. That's it. That's all I have to fucking do. I'm in.
What? You realize that you would. Okay.
I'm locked in a giant house.
As
All right.
human beings, we need existential objectives and dilemmas in order to give us a sense of meaning in life. Without having
then my dilemma can be
struggles.
like, oh, do I still want to be a pet or should I escape?
Right, well,
And then they'd be like, don't
no,
leave the door
man,
open. The Jay's gonna get out.
the J.
like, you can definitely frame it that way, where it's like it's those dilemmas and situations that give our existence meaning, or you could frame it in the form of animals don't ever have to worry about having meaning in their life. So it's like, whatever.
What do you? Of course they do. Of course they have senses of meaning.
Do you think they have conscious, rational self-awareness of the aggregate struggles of their entire existence?
Maybe not on the same scale we do, but they do. and they get fucking depressed sitting around all the time unless they have constant stimuli.
I don't disagree with the idea that animals have emotions. I also, however, insist that, like, the fact that animals experience emotional states is clear indication that upper level, like, cerebral function and higher thinking is definitely a much more advanced and therefore probably far more reliable system to guide your life than your... And basically what I'm saying is that I'm willing to admit that animals have emotions if you're willing to admit that emotions are primitive shit that you shouldn't let guide your existence.
I would disagree with that. Well, as an overly rational person myself.
Oh, and don't get me wrong, I am still a person who is 100% completely dominated by his emotions, and I make that very clear. I am king of not being like Because, look, man, having the map and being able to follow it are two completely different skill sets. So I definitely don't fucking listen to me, because I can't even do shit the way I have an idea of how to do it right because I do it wrong all the fucking time.
It makes sense to apply logic and reason to any particular
Absolutely.
circumstance to try to figure out at
Don't
least
just-
whether or not you should do it. But you cannot make decisions as a human being unless you use emotion. There are people who are unable to feel emotion, and they are horrible at making decisions. They can't decide whether to tie their shoes or not. They can't decide whether to go out. They can't decide these things.
I'm pretty sure a psychopath could tie their shoes.
A psychopath could. But I'm talking about people who are unable to...
Feel emotions like a psychopath?
There's a specific disease. I'll have to check it out here. But
I'm not suggesting emotions should be abandoned entirely. I'm
No.
just suggesting that the one thing clearly trumps the other in literally every case.
Actually, studies have shown that people are happier with impulse decisions, and especially around things like which car to buy, who to date, what kind of art to put on the wall. Overwhelmingly, studies...
Do I want to poop in the corner, or do I want to go in my litter box?
They may be happier making impulse decisions, but are those decisions working out well for them?
Yes,
I think
actually,
is the question.
that's the point of the study. They showed that people who are asked to think
I
about...
would be interested in reading the documentation. Is all I'm
I'll find
saying.
it while you're talking next
You'll
time.
have to email it to me. I'll check it out. No, I just...
There's
I guess
studies
what I'm saying is that there are very few situations I've ever been in where just making an impulse decision based on an emotional reaction has ever worked out well.
Well, if your impulse decision is, should I touch that or should I snort that, then if you kind of give in to impulse decisions, then, I mean, it's going to lead to more interesting stories.
The point is that it's not how well it turns out, it's that you have the ability to do it. Isn't that what you're saying the study found? Is that having the ability to make an impulse decision is what made people happier?
No,
Okay, I was trying to help you out, but apparently
that's not it either. They asked people to choose art.
I would like to point out very quickly that I, at least, am a barely educated human being who most of the time doesn't actually know what the fuck he's talking about. I have some thoughts and opinions, but I'm probably full of shit most of the time. I want to make that clear. I don't know. So maybe I'm wrong. In my experience, rash, impulsive decisions never lead to happiness. Ever. They always lead to a lot of regret.
You have to be able to know what kind of decisions are better left
right, and
impulses.
that's why it's not an impulse decision though, because if you're applying any logic to it whatsoever in advance, it's no longer an impulse decision. If you're only allowing yourself to be impulsive in cases where it makes sense to be impulsive, you're not being impulsive.
Things to do, you might want to be more rational about it. If you're purchasing something or if you're making a decision that's going to carry over throughout your lifetime or throughout a long period of time, go with your gut instinct.
Right, but again, I think those specifics don't matter. Like, again, I fall back to exactly that idea, which is if you are only allowing yourself to be impulsive within certain compartmentalized contexts, you are, in fact, not being impulsive.
Yeah, not overall.
Right. And what I'm talking about is pure impulsivity. Just like...
Nobody would trust that person.
Oh, and they shouldn't, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yes, there are definitely contexts where it's okay to just be like, no, man, let's just like I'm on vacation and I don't have a specific agenda for what I'm gonna do today. I'm in a different place and I'm just like, nah, man, I'm just gonna go out and see where the day takes me. Yeah, that's fine. But that's not remotely what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like,
could you imagine a person based solely, like, that did everything just based solely on their impulse decision at all
it's terrible.
times?
Like pure in person, like
it
pure
be like,
in dominance. It'd be the worst thing. It's terrible.
Jeffrey, you say something that I don't agree with. I'm like, I should punch this guy in the head. I just punch this guy in the head.
And there's also, and I'm not even talking about extreme examples like that. There are definitely people, I think, who believe
cake or carrot. I'm going cake.
I think there are people who believe
brush my teeth or go to bed. I'm going to bed.
That sort of emotional element of things is the more human element than the logical side, and I completely disagree with that. Like, I think the more human element is that level of logic that we can bring to it that other creatures can't. What are you laughing at? I'm trying to be serious here for a minute, and this guy is losing his mind.
I'm just trying to think in what magical world Jay has to choose between brushing his teeth and going to bed.
Well, you know. Actually, one of my favorite stories of growing up, this just tells, like, how... like how much I hate picking up is that my mom, when I was, like, real little, like 5 or something like that, she came downstairs, and she was like, I had toys all over my room, and she was like, Jay, either you pick up these toys, or you're going to bed without supper. And so she walks off and goes and makes supper, and an hour later, she yells for me, and I'm not coming up, so she goes downstairs, opens up the door, and there's toys all over the floor, and I'm in bed. Like, that'll show you, Mom.
Fine, whatever.
Way to stick it to the man.
Yeah. So she's like, well, that doesn't work.
Yeah. I was never easily groundable.
Oh, yeah?
Parents thought they could take away my PlayStation when I was a kid, and then I'd whip out the Super Nintendo when they weren't looking.
God, it makes me nervous every time you say whip it out.
The beautiful thing about those scenarios is my parents took it to an extra level is they just never bought us video games. That's a whole nother story.
Did you buy your own?
Okay, God, no. You have to, like...
You never had video games?
You have to have, like a job and responsibility to buy video games. I didn't learn how to have those until I was like 29 years old.
So
you didn't have a job till you're 29?
I had jobs, but what I did not have was responsibility. That was that one. Like, I was employed, not the whole time. There were big chunks of time where I was definitely not employed. But it's the responsibility that it took a little while to sort out.
Well, they do say that responsibility is taught well before the age of 2. Even you have to teach responsibility that early.
God bless my parents. I love them to death, but they fucked that one up pretty hard. Not gonna lie. They're good people, but not everybody they're good people in the aggregate. They made some mistakes, and that's. But also, by the flip side, I understand that I am definitely not one to be an example, so I'm at least curtailing the problem by not having children of my own.
Smart. Did you get a vasectomy?
No, but I mean, I would, but it's not really an issue.
JD, let's talk about your sex life.
Oh, fuck you. That'll be a short conversation. Oh, God. That's the funniest joke I'm ever gonna make. Are you gonna get a vasectomy? Yeah, it's not really an issue. It's real easy for me to say I'm not ever gonna have kids. Is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a real easy claim to make. Oh, I'm sad.
Kind of an alternative vasectomy.
Let's talk about something. It's an involuntary vasectomy. I'm involuntarily childless.
Why don't they have nonprofit, or is there? Do you think there's a nonprofit out there that offers men vasectomies for free?
I wish there was.
Be nice.
That'd be great.
I know a lot of people who'd be like, "Yeah, sure," if it didn't, cost anything. Oh
man, I don't ever want to have kids. I'm 34 and I can barely run my own life. I'm saying some people are better at this than other people. I am not one of those who is good at this. Therefore, I am not a person who should be in charge of rearing other people. Like, I think that's something that it's silly on a lot of levels, but I also genuinely hold to it. Is that like somewhere along the line, and I get it because it comes from more primitive genetic concepts, and the idea of just like the whole thing is meant to just proliferate and spread the genetics as much as possible.
Right.
But I also think being a more logical, elevated, sort of enlightened sort of species, a part of that is also like there are a lot of people having kids who do not in any way whatsoever have the necessary skill sets to successfully raise children.
Well, nature appreciates variety.
Sure, but it's oh man, I feel like
sometimes math
we're
apparently
able
Nature appreciates
to
meth?
I just feel like there's a part of me that feels like the simple fact that we are able to make better decisions than that means we're kind of, I don't want to say obligated because that's not the right word, but it's just like, really? Like, guys, we could be doing this this way.
We're not all to that point, though. Like, as much as it's there, we're not all to that point. There are people that are going to vote for Trump.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding? I am about 43% certain he's the next president of the United States.
God.
Are you?
I could almost see it happen. I mean, that's how awful it is. I could almost see it happening.
The interesting thing, I have this weird squint in my eyes whenever I hear people talking about their future parenthood.
Right.
Because people feel, we're genetically predisposed to thinking that our genes need to be in the gene pool.
The reproductive drive is there. So that's why I say, like, I get it.
When people say they want kids or that they would make good parents, I give them that squint.
It's like, I know you, motherfucker. What makes you think you would be a good parent?
I don't necessarily think I would be a good parent. I'd be a fun parent.
Well, maybe
which isn't always good.
I think that makes you predisposed to being a bad parent. Frankly.
Yeah.
No, what I want to know is if he applies to adopt a child, and he puts that on his application. I don't know if I'd be a good parent, but I'd be a fun parent.
I'd be a blast.
I want to see if they would actually allow you to adopt.
It's a thing that, and I think it's just honestly, it's a concept that. And this gets into whole other bigger issues of linguistics and concepts and just mentality. But there's there's this whole thing where, like, parents are so interested in their kids liking them. And,
it's not necessary.
Right. No, your kid needs to respect you. Right. And that's
I'm not even sure that's a requisite.
I think it is, at least to a certain degree. I think part of the problem...
Kids are more like cats and less like dogs.
I guess what I'm saying is...
You can't demand that they love you.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
But I'm saying respect and love is different.
Respect in the sense of like, if this person tells me that something is probably not particularly safe or a good idea, I can trust that that's at the... Even if they're wrong, they're at the very... I feel like... I can say with great certainty that there were many, many times, I would say, in fact, more often than not in the time I was growing up, I never liked my parents. Mm-hmm. We were different people. We don't really get along. We had a lot of conflict. I didn't really like my parents, but I always respected my parents, and I always trusted that
if you're dependent on something, you kind of have to.
No, you don't.
At some point...
No, you really don't. And that's, I think, the problem.
But think how many parents just think that they're doing right and by enabling their kids.
And that's the thing
they want their kids to like them.
They want to be liked. They don't want to be respected. And I think there's a very important difference there.
Until a certain age, we really are being imprinted by our parents. We really are absorbing everything like a sponge. And we take everything on authority. I mean, why the hell do you think there's so many religious people in the world?
Right. Well, and that's why it's so important that you do that with the right mentality. And I think the mentality of being liked is not the correct mentality. You like being friends with your child, like having that level of a relationship with your children can come later in life. At early stages where they're learning fundamental concepts of survival.
But this all gets back to, sorry to interrupt, but this kind of all gets back to why people want kids in the first place. Part of it is, well, first of all, I've always contended, and this is a controversial statement, I know, but allow me to back it up. Deciding to have children is the single most selfish decision that anyone can ever make.
Oh, no, I completely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Because people don't have kids because of their futures. They have kids because in the moment they say, I want kids, or I'm ready to have kids.
I need somebody to mow my lawn in a few years.
No, I think it's absolutely an incredibly selfish thing. And some people are, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't have a problem with the idea of saying, okay, I think my life is prepared in such a way that or at least my mentality is, I want to be a parent. I would never say we need to do something to stop certain people from having children. Absolutely not. However, the unfortunate side effect of that is there are a lot of people who make that decision very incorrectly because they are in fact not prepared. And a lot of people who
of course, they've only had abstinence-only sex education.
I want to make a clarification here also, because there are those people who do it sort of out of a sense of ignorance, but I also think there are definitely those people who do it because they genuinely thought they were prepared for this, and then they get into it and they didn't have a clue.
I think a lot of people
that happens, but so it's and obviously in those situations there's certainly a lot more sympathy for their situation, but I think it's the kind of thing where just sort of culturally we need to start developing this mindset of not making that decision rashly. Like babies to me, like it seems like our anti, or not even anti-sex, but like our sort of like our campaigns to try and minimize risky sexual activity in kids to a certain extent has sort of been
what kind of campaigns are you working on?
Well, no, just culturally. I mean,
no more sexy kids.
No, it's like culturally we do, like, it seems, I don't know, and maybe I'm totally off base here, but it seems like a lot of it is sort of more like disease focused and STD focused and risk focused.
That's
that
a
way.
failure of our education system,
right? Because what the biggest risk you should be screaming at 12-year-olds in sex education is,
Don't be pregnant.
you could have babies. That is a terrifying potential outcome of that risky behavior. I think we just need to be fostering more of a cultural attitude that parenthood is parenthood is you can't say parenthood is not a right. It's just parenthood is also
Can I summarize something here?
Massive responsibility.
One of the things that I think we're skirting around here, and I think we're all saying, obviously, is that an important feature of a society that's not blaming people for their sexuality, or a society that's not punishing, in this case, especially women for who they are sexually, is you need to have a sex-positive society.
Right.
You need a sex-positive society.
Yeah.
If people can't glorify and worship each other's sexuality, we're always going to be missing out.
Yeah, here's a controversial idea. Tell your kids to have sex. Go ahead, tell them. And then tell them, by the way, that when you're doing it, make sure you're doing it like this, because it's going to be a lot of fucking fun.
Anally.
It's
right?
going to be
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, protectedly.
Anal protected.
Right.
Anally protected. I'm protected from impregnating this girl by doing it anally.
Now what you're doing is you're saying to them, yeah, this is something that's going to be real fucking fun. You're going to have a good time. However, it's like jumping off the hill into the lake. You know, you got to jump in the right place because there's a fucking sharp rock over there.
I don't think I'd use that analogy.
But my point is,
don't put it in the vagina. There's a sharp rock in there. Right. Don't you understand that, boy?
My point is just, like, our whole attitude has been like when are we going to learn that saying don't do this is the surest way to get kids to do something?
We're gonna have to get over this ridiculous Christian culture of punishing people for things that are natural.
And that's why I say I think we should go ahead and tell them, look, you're gonna start developing these urges. Definitely be sort of thoughtful about them and don't just go nuts. But it's okay to go ahead and act on them occasionally from time to time. And
you can masturbate, but not when grandma's visiting.
About it.
No. Okay, here's my thing. And by the way, I would.
You masturbate when grandma is visiting? You sicko.
I masturbated when grandma was watching.
And Thank you again for listening to the Open Mic Gripe with Jay Rice and Jeffrey Ide. That was part 1 of the interview with JD Proverse, comedian, pervert, and overall funny man. Stay tuned next week as we conclude our interview with JD Proverse. And feel free to email us at any time at openmicgripe@gmail.com or tweet to us at openmicgripe. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.